This terrifying Dragon Emperor will carry out even violent destruction for the sake of its own justice. To make today's video more streamlined, I'm going to pick up where the story left off. When last I spoke the tale of two Digimon who wanted to survive the digital world, they eventually took up power, and unfortunately it led them down a path of destruction. Vmon and Wormmon, these unfortunate Digimon, are now stuck, as their continuations to get stronger and evolve has left them in the body of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode Black, and now its rampage has reached magnitudes across the digital world. As it has failed to control most of its power, it continues to defeat anything in its path, and anything that has tried to stop it so far has fallen. Many Digimon have been defeated, and unfortunately, the rate at which they're going to the dark area has become a massive problem. As the rampage caused by Imperialdramon has begun to gain the attention of higher-up Digimon. I believe the first Digimon that will try and stop it are going to be the Four Sovereigns, as Imperialdramon's berserk rampage has caused instability all across different parts of the digital world, and I do believe that they will be the first deterrents to try and stop this rampaging dragon, as they feel compelled to stop them. However, internally, Imperialdramon just wants to be free and needs help, as somewhere deep inside, Wormmon and Vmon still reside, just wanting to be free from the misery and pain that they're suffering. Sometimes power is just too great for those who are not ready to accept it. On one fateful day, Imperialdramon Dragon Mode has somehow been able to keep itself calm, staying in an area of mountainous terrain, trying to keep itself from doing any rampage where other Digimon are not there. However, on this day, it was visited by one of the Four Sovereigns in Baihumon. Very ecstatic and happy, this Imperialdramon Dragon Mode was very happy, as it already knows the tale of the Four Sovereigns, and had hoped that if anyone could help it, it would have to be a sovereign. However, this reality was completely shattered, and at the moment, Baihumon launched its Congo attack, forcing Imperialdramon to smash into the ground. With the little restraint it could muster, Imperialdramon attempted to speak to Baihumon, but unfortunately was smashed again as the attack did not stop. As eventually it struggled and was able to tackle the Sovereign down, it started to charge up its positron laser, not out of its own malicious intent, but for the sake of its own survival, realizing that Baihumon was going to try and destroy it. However, before firing the massive laser, a mist filtered through the area, covering both. Imperialdramon's rage faded, it released Baihumon, and as its spirits diminished, it smashed into the ground, losing a lot of its will. When the mist faded, Dragon Mode was shocked, as it was now facing two sovereigns. With the arrival of the dragon snake turtle Imeiraldramon, the situation has become even more dire. It would have roared at Imperialdramon Dragon Mode that your destruction will be our salvation, making it very clear that they weren't going to stop attacking until Dragon Mode had been stopped completely. The already angry Dragon Mode had become even more furious, as now, with the little restraint it still held back, it was able to break through the power that the Mugen attack released by Imeiraldramon would have. As its spirit raged back up, it prepared for a fight against the Four Sovereigns. As it decided that it would be best to launch a Mega Death, it charged up and fired. However, the area that it was aiming at was completely empty. And although the devastation was cut to a minimum, it still made it clear that Dragon Mode was by no means weakened from its prior assault. Now, as the words inside of its mind began to stir, all it could think was anger, rage, destroy, and help. Those were the only words that Dragon Mode could get out. However, due to the fog of battle, neither it or the Sovereigns would be able to make sure that it knew what it was saying. In response to the devastations, both of the sovereigns lunged in, deciding to try to pin down Dragon Mode. However, this became a failure as Imperialdramon Dragon Mode has wings, and it took to the sky. Attempting to launch an aerial assault and start raining down damage against the sovereigns, it began to charge up the positron laser once again. However, as it began to reach its peak, it was smashed with a torrent of fire that knocked the dragon back to the ground. After looking up, the glory and majesty of the third sovereign appeared, DIGIMON. The massive phoenix shined above all in battle, as it would tell the other two sovereigns to rise, and that they would eventually destroy this evil together. The glowing sovereigns would unite their attacks and attempt to eliminate Dragon Mode by force. Deciding that at this point the best option would either be to seal it or attempt to destroy it, this would be the best sequence, as DIGIMON's additional power would at least allow them to seal down Imperialdramon Dragon Mode until something could be decided, as it seemed from the battle before. The other two had failed. Attempting to seal Dragon Mode away, the three sovereigns poured as much of their power united into the attack as possible. Although very powerful Digimon, the sovereigns usually do not fight as often as it seems. As Dragon Mode had been solely defeating other Digimon and causing destruction, its power had grown immense, but so immense that its mind had already mostly slipped away. As the three attacks were seemingly to defeat Imperialdramon Dragon Mode by pinning it into the ground, as it slowly sunk to the ground thanks to their attacks, a bright fire appeared from nowhere and hit two of the sovereigns, stopping both Ibanwumon and Baihumon from launching attacks at Dragon Mode. In the Mugen Mist itself, something began to stir. Large, mangled wings began to appear, and a serpentine-like body slithered through. After popping out of the mist, the radiant red and distinct mark of the digital hazard appeared. This was Imeiraldramon. The two sovereigns were terrified, believing that a new opponent had appeared to assist Dragon Mode. However, they were even more surprised when Imeiraldramon dove into the area and attacked Dragon Mode, wrapping its body around and trying to assault it instead. Little did they know Imeiraldramon had actually come here to take down this new rumored Berserk Black Dragon and prove that once and for all it was the greatest dragon of all dragon Digimon. Seizing this opportunity, as they did not think it would happen again, the sovereigns attempted to seal both away, trying to pin them again the same way that they had done to Dragon Mode. Now, this would have been effective if not for Imeiraldramon biting down on Dragon Mode's neck. Instead of a roar, it screamed, something none of the Digimon in the area were expecting. Internally, the Digimon deep inside, Wormmon and Vmon, that had been floating in that dark space with their eyes closed, had finally reached their limit and gave in, as the black circle that they were in completely absorbed them. If no one would care for them, and no one would help them, then neither would they. As Dragon Mode began to push itself back up out of the hole that it was being sealed in, this was a surprise to the sovereigns, and even the Imeiraldramon, who continued to bite. As it continued to sink its teeth in, it still fought back, and eventually it was surprised when Dragon Mode was still able to speak, even though its throat had been bitten. As it just said 3 words, "I hate you." With those words it spoke, it was able to launch itself into the air, breaking itself away from Imeiraldramon and surprising the sovereign, who did not expect this. As it launched into the air, it was embroiled in a glowing light. This dark energy that surrounded it surprised them. All onlookers would be shocked, as they heard 2 words, mode change. As if it digivolved, it became bipedal. Its dragon head moved to its chest, and the cannon on its back now mounted to its arm. Without even saying a word, it fired its massive cannon at DIGIMON, which was able to barely dodge the attack. However, although this seeming like a small attack, when it hit the mountain in the background, it completely disintegrated it without even an attempt. As it finally spoke up, as clear and as cold as it could be. You will not be able to stop me. With such weak power. Now die. As it put the cannon on its arm into its chest, the dragon mouth that opened up, and surprised all, as this was something they had not seen. As it roared, Giga Death. The devastation was massive. The 3 sovereigns had fallen to the ground, and Imeiraldramon laid down in the hole that they were sharing before, unable to barely stand up. As it looked ominously at the outline of fighter mode, which was now being covered by the smog that it created from its blast. As it hung in the sky, it prepared again, as now it took the cannon off of its chest and put it back on its arm. As Imeiraldramon could tell, it was charging up for the final blow, and it was attempting to strike them all down. As fighter mode now stands firm to destroy the sovereigns, as the 2 heroes seemingly no longer exist inside. Or do they? Help is sometimes difficult to ask for. And even in our pain, we can't assume that everyone will be willing to help us, especially if we are the ones causing problems. In life, sometimes it can feel very unfair, whether it's circumstances or even situations. We always wonder if we are in control, or is the situations in control of us. In the case of these 2 Digimon, and in the case of the situation now, the 2 Digimon that have become one are now in sync, but they are only in sync with their dark, malicious heart. But will it ultimately be the saving grace of them, or the ultimate downfall for the entire world? If we can learn anything from this story so far, is that when we cloak ourselves in darkness and rage, it can't necessarily blind us, but it begins to blind everyone else. As we can see that the sovereigns themselves decided their best option was to destroy and or seal up Dragon Mode, even though it kept causing its own destruction. Now, how much more help would it be to destroy him or destroy it in the case of it destroying others? Like I said, an eye for an eye could make the whole world blind. However, sometimes losing an eye is your only way to stop from losing your life. And in their case, Dragon Mode was much of a threat. Imeiraldramon also is an important actor in this whole story, as I do think it is a good transitional Digimon to explain some of the problems with the story and the theme of power. Power is something that we all can seek for in our lives, sometimes not physical, but also in the times of mental, but also even showboating sometimes. Everyone wants to be the greatest, but what cost will we give in terms of trying to prove how great we can be? It kind of stems back from my story of the Trial of the Great 4 Dragons. However, it also reflects the problem of when people lose control, even if they had good intentions, because just because you've always thought the best of what your actions would be, it doesn't make you innocent from your own mistakes. As in this situation now, they have decided to live into their mistakes instead of trying to strive for better. As sometimes a light heart is the best way to heal a broken one. And in the case of our heroes, we can only hope that maybe someone is coming to save them. Now, who is the heroes in this instance? Well, we'll find out in the next part. So, this is Brad from the Ed Army, signing off. And for all of you out there to sign on.